More than 10,000 energy jobs already gone, and more on the edge.
Say what? When did this happen? Energy jobs gone? I didn't know about this.
Millions of your taxpayer dollars freed up to pay for other people's abortions.
Wait a minute. I didn't sign up to have my tax dollars going to pay for other people's abortions. What the crap?
Billions more going to other countries to meet their climate goals.
Hold up, wait a minute. What's wrong with the climate? I mean, nobody told me my tax dollars was going overseas to pay for some climate goals. I mean, right now, the climate looks fine. You know, I've been around quite a long time and seems like the weather's pretty consistent. But hey, I didn't know nothing about this. When did this happen?
While hundreds of thousands of our own small businesses go bankrupt here at home thanks to government shutdowns.
What? Wait a minute. Now, I heard a lot about COVID, and I've been hearing the Democrats and the liberal media tell us that we needed to shut this mess down. And they didn't say nothing about all these businesses were going to close and destroy the middle class and destroy all of these middle-sized companies. Nobody told me about this.
Men dominating women's sports.
Wait a minute, what is this? Men dominating ladies' sports? What? No, whoa, I ain't cool with that now. I'm not cool with that, man. When did this happen? Nobody told me.
Tens of thousands of illegal aliens streaming across our border every month because they're open to anyone who can get across, but who can't support themselves once they're here.
Hold up. So now wait. What? When did this happen? I mean, yo, man. I live on the border, man. You telling me these people to just come across anytime they want? Nobody talked to me about this. God dog it, man. I heard that Trump tried to stop that mess because he was xenophobic. I need to know more about this. Or is it too late?
I rock the planet, beating my chest like a silverback back. I hold it down, tilt my crown on them. I'm a silverback back. Silence. There's some kings in the building. Throw your fists up and show some respect. There's gorillas in here, gorilla in here. It's gorillas in here, gorilla in here.
This video is brought to you by Extreme Tees. Click on the link below. Make sure you put Kevin in the promo code and you'll get a 20% discount. Will you be prepared for the next financial crisis? Our economy is already fragile because of COVID-19. So it won't take much to start an avalanche in the stock market. A run on banks, a freezing of credit cards, and then we're looking at a general collapse of our financial system. The first thing you will see is a food shortage. And that is why you need to be prepared ahead of time. Ask yourself, can you go weeks or months without being able to buy food? Not unless you stockpile food from My Patriot Supply. America's leader in survival food. It stays fresh up to 25 years in proper storage. I've arranged for you to save $70 off of their popular 4-week food kit. That provides 2,000 calories per day. Go to preparedwithkevinscorner.com and you'll get the emergency food kit before the next emergency. Your 4-week kit will arrive discreetly at your door within a few days. So visit preparedwithkevinscorner.com. That is preparedwithkevinscorner.com. Now, back to the video. What's going on, America? Kevin from Kevin's Corner, where I try to make sense out of nonsense. Now, did you hear that quick snippet and of the lady from Reality Check talking about all these things that's done happened since Joe Biden, creepy, sleepy, sloppy, sleazy, slimy Joe, got in office? And I'm talking in record-breaking time. This man came in like a wrecking ball in record-breaking time and done threw some garbage out there, right up under the nose of Americans that voted for him and have no idea what's going on. Thus, bringing me to the whole point of this video. Real-life consequences means you have to have a high voter IQ. You can't be in there with no low -3, -10 voter IQ, because you'll wake up one day and have to deal with real life consequences that you didn't vote for. And it's all because they tricked you into voting for them based on stuff that really don't impact your life. But this stuff we're about to hear are examples of real life consequences, and also the stupidity of voting for people and you don't know nothing about their policies and you never work hard to increase your voter IQ. Starting off with this lady from Reality Check just ripped off in a matter of seconds, but there's more. Listen to this real life consequence, this story of this mother right here having to buy insulin for her kid. Thanks to Joe Biden, somebody out there is going to die because they can't get their insulin because they're not able to pay for it. Just check it out.
I went to the pharmacy to go get Hayden's insulin filled today. Hayden has type 1 diabetes. he goes through a box of this insulin. It's a Novolog. Every single month. Now, there are a lot of people with diabetes who go through multiple boxes of this. In 2020, when Trump was president, our monthly payment for Hayden's insulin, and insulin is not a negotiable product. It's a product that Hayden will be dependent on for the rest of his life in order to stay alive. It's not rationable. Like, you can't ration it in order to make it go longer. You guys, I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry. Not so much for Hayden, because we can absorb this cost. Last year under Trump, our insulin payment went to $60 a month for this box. This is the first time I got this insulin prescription filled since Biden was inaugurated into office. And if you voted him in, I'm a little mad today. I'm a little mad. Do you know how much I paid for this one box of insulin? I paid $328 for this one box of insulin that lasts him a month. I paid $328. And that was with the coupon from the company. Do you know how much I would have paid without the coupon? $500.
Now, is that real enough for y'all? I mean, did you see the parent, the mother? I mean, you go from 1 month to the next, and your insulin goes from $60 to 320 something bucks, or even more than that if it wasn't for a discount card, in 1 month. All from the stroke of a pen from a raggedy, disgusting, politician that's been beholden to big pharma, all the places and the companies and the big tech and the billionaires and the hedge funds that the little man, include many that voted for him, whine and complain about. That's right, that same guy, the same guy that's been in office for over 47 years and have done nothing, absolutely nothing, but because people had low voter IQs, they voted for this dude, he got in, and now they're starting to see real life consequences, see? But yet, this guy's supposed to be fighting for the little man. That same guy came in and destroyed jobs off grip. That same guy who said he was going to be a moderate and he wasn't trying to come, Joe, I'm just, everyday working class Joe. No, that doesn't show me working class Joe when you come in and you start cutting jobs immediately, thousands of jobs. In fact, during a pandemic, you're cutting jobs and giving over our power, again, to our enemies like Russia. All of the things like China, giving all that back to him. See, and yet these people don't realize that they've been had. They go along their everyday life thinking everything's great because we got the white nationalist, racist, xenophobe out of the office that we were tricked to vote against, which indirectly voted against our own self-interest. And now we're able to see some real life consequences. So the lady from Reality Check brought some stuff up. And this lady's an example of real life consequences. But is it more? Are there more? Oh, Tucker might be able to help out a little bit on this too.
To all air passengers entering the United States, testing before and after travel is a critical layer to slow the introduction and spread of COVID-19. This strategy is consistent with the current phase of the pandemic and more efficiently protects the health of Americans. Got that? It's all about the health of Americans. And that's why every human being who enters this country by air must first present a negative test for the coronavirus. That includes American citizens. There are no exceptions. Travelers who test negative for COVID must still wear masks at all times. And that includes while on board the airplane or while walking through the airport. If you don't have a mask on, you had better be actively chewing.
Wait a minute. Wait just a minute. If I'm the regular dude who been watching CNN and MSNBC for 4 years, listen to everybody tell me that Trump is the white nationalist in the White House that hates all black folks and things like that, I'm a little concerned after I listened to this report, because you're telling me, Tucker, that we're not allowed to move about. We're not allowed to fly without a mask on. We're not allowed to take a bite of food without that mask going back up on your face and mask, all of that. We can't go to funerals. We can't go to church. We can't do none of that stuff. But yet Joe Biden, first week in, starts signing immigration, executive orders that allow them to not only come to our country, violate our immigration laws, but yet release them from prison. Don't deport them. I mean, these things don't sound like they care anything about Americans. If I would have known this, I wouldn't have voted for Joe Biden. I didn't know he was going to do this. That's the whole point. You don't know because you have a low voter IQ. You don't realize real life consequences. And yet, these people are being released into our country with no COVID tests, nothing. No quarantining that needs to take place for them. None of that stuff. Using our taxpayer dollars to house them. Don't know who we're letting into the country. Now let's make it a little practical for those that don't understand real life consequences. In your real life, would you let somebody that you're trying to protect your whole family from COVID just come on in, wander around, touch stuff, move about? They may steal, they may not. They may be a rapist, may not. Maybe a killer, may not. Maybe a drug dealer, may not. May be some type of gang member. Who knows? We don't know. All we know is we don't want to come across as racist, xenophobic, and all of those things. No. We're a melting pot. And we have to open up our borders so everybody else can come here for just a better life. That's all they want. So don't worry about the safety of your own family. I mean, because it's more important to look good and to not be labeled as a xenophobe and a racist and a white nationalist. Or are you going to be labeled as a low voter IQ human? That's what happened. And now we see real life consequences. But there's one more example of that.
COVID is dangerous. It's existentially dangerous, they keep telling us. The authorities are more than willing to destroy your family and your country in order to protect you from this virus.
Now, did y'all hear that? See, these same low voter IQ people who voted for Joe Biden, who supports the Democrats, who bought into the whole narrative that Trump is only trying to open back up our economy because he just wants to win the election and all of that stuff. He only wants our kids to go back to school because he wants to win an election, not because they're missing out on their education, none of that stuff. No, not because he wants to keep Americans safe from this pandemic. He's not doing that for those things. No, he's doing it because he's arrogant. He's a tyrant. And he don't care about people and he don't care about lives. He only cares about winning the next election. So now, for all those that helped the Democrats push policies to destroy many people's jobs, a lot of their kids' education, we're now starting to see some real life results from people having a low voter IQ, along with some other factors too. So now let me get this straight, Tucker. What you're saying is they're telling us as American citizens, our life has changed. It could never go back. We have to wear these masks on these planes to keep people safe, to slow the spread, all the stuff they've been pushing forever and ain't nothing changed. But if we don't, we get penalized. Tell me more about this, Tucker. Let's see if we can find some more real life consequences for having a low voter IQ.
Tonight we've learned the Joe Biden administration is releasing thousands of foreign nationals living here illegally into American neighborhoods without bothering to test them for the coronavirus. People from countries with high infection rates, living in crowded conditions, sent forth into the American population like COVID isn't real. That's happening. It is the official policy of the U.S. government. On Friday, the White House was asked about this policy, and here was the response.
The U.S. Customs and Border Protection is saying that they're having to catch and release some migrants without giving them any kind of COVID test before they're entering the community. So what is being done? What could be done?
Are you suggesting they're letting people in across the border without testing them, or just tell me a little bit more?
They're being released. They're having to, because of the executive order that the president signed earlier this week.
Which executive? Which one?
Yeah, which one? COVID-infected illegal aliens released into the United States? Whatever. It's not like there's a pandemic. The press secretary didn't care enough to answer the question. No big deal. Can I remind you that our Treasury Secretary is a woman? Shut up. You've been empowered. But people who know the details of what is going on right now feel very differently, and they are worried. Brandon Judd runs the Border Patrol Union. We do not test the illegal aliens we release, Judd told this show. Quote, so we're releasing people without knowing, which obviously puts the public at risk. Well, yes, it obviously does. Leon Wilmot is the sheriff of Yuma County, Arizona. Last week, he wrote a letter to one of his senators, Democrat Kyrsten Sinema. Wilmot called the Biden administration's new policy, quote, a particularly dangerous approach. As he put it, quote, there is currently no protocol for testing any of these people for the COVID-19 virus, nor is there any support being offered by the federal government to house, feed, medically treat, or transport these immigrants. And that's why, in some places, taxpayers are paying for foreign nationals who should be deported to live in hotel rooms. But if that seems crazy, disconnected from reality, it is a small part of the Biden administration's immigration policy, a policy that seems designed to hurt the United States as profoundly as possible. In an internal memo sent last week, ICE officials announced the administration is suspending something called Operation Talent. That operation targeted sex offenders, but no more. Illegal alien sex offenders are now a protected class. Then a day after that, another internal ICE memo announced that, quote, effective immediately, the Biden administration would stop deporting illegal aliens who've been convicted of drug offenses, assault, DUI, money laundering, property crimes, fraud, tax evasion, or who have gang tattoos. Going forward, any illegal alien charged with a crime, but not yet convicted of a crime, would also be safe from deportation. So what does all of that mean in practice? Well, it means, for example, that an MS-13 member arrested for drug dealing with previous convictions for, say, theft, extortion, grand larceny, would have to be released back into the United States, maybe into your neighborhood, even if he had been deported many times before. The question is motive. Why are they doing this? Even if you thought the United States badly needed more low-skilled workers in the middle of an employment crisis, even if you believe that, even if you believe that your right to cheap housekeeping is more important than the right of the American middle class to exist, and many of our leaders emphatically do believe that, how exactly do you explain suspending the hunt for sex offenders? How is that a good idea for anyone? How is it a good idea to release illegal aliens in the middle of a pandemic without even testing them for the coronavirus? How does all of that conceivably help you as an American, as someone who pays for all of this stuff? Well, of course, it doesn't help you, but helping you is not the point. No one's even pretending the point of this was to help you. It's the opposite. The point is to punish you. When we release people who break our laws without even bothering to test them for the virus, the same virus we've used as a pretext for wrecking your life, what we're really saying in the clearest possible terms is, we don't like you. This isn't a policy, it's an act of aggression. It's designed to humiliate you and demoralize you. Reckless and destructive immigration policy is the penalty you are paying for your white supremacy. And over on MSNBC, they're saying it out loud.
Underscoring all of this, as we talk about this racial reckoning, is xenophobia, is racism, is white supremacy. When you separate brown children, especially from their mothers, we have to ask ourselves, how was that allowed to happen, and what role did white supremacy play in that?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's at the root of all of these conversations.
The Office of Civil Rights sent a letter to Connecticut saying that boys can't compete with girls in sports, or
So
they
what's
shouldn't be
happening
forced
here?
to allow boys to compete in girls' sports. If you're confirmed, will you enforce that Office of Civil Rights opinion?
Hello, Senator. Thank you for the question. I understand that there are a lot of concerns about that. If confirmed, it's my responsibility and my privilege to make sure that we're following our civil rights of all students. And that includes activities that they may engage in high school or in athletics.
What do you think in general about boys running in girls' track meets like they've been doing in Connecticut?
I think that it's critically important that education systems and educators respect the rights of all students, including students who are transgender, and that they are afforded the opportunities that every other student has to participate in extracurricular activities.
Does it bother you that like the top 20% of boys running in track meets beat all of the girls in the state, and that it, would be, completely destroy girls' athletics? The girls are being pushed out. If they don't make the finals in the state meet, they don't get college scholarships, that it's really detrimental to girls' sports. Do you worry about having boys running girls' track meets?
I think it's appropriate I think it's the legal responsibility of schools to provide opportunities for students to participate in activities, and this includes students who are transgender.
So you don't have a problem then with boys running in the girls' track meet, swimming meets, name it. You're okay then with boys competing with girls?
Respectfully, Senator, I think I answered the question. I believe schools should offer the opportunity for students to engage in extracurricular activities, even if they're transgender. I think that's their right.
All right. Well, a lot of us think that that's bizarre, not very fair. I come from a family that has a lot of girls who have competed in college athletics, have been state champions, and frankly, some boy that's 6'2" competing against my 5'4" niece doesn't sound very fair. I think most people in the country think it's bizarre, that it's just completely bizarre and unfair that people, and you're going to run the Department of Education, you've got no problem with it. That concerns me. And I think this kind of thing is going to lead to really just the vast majority of America just wondering, who are these people that think it's okay? From what planet are you from? I mean, to think it's okay that boys would compete with girls in a track meet, that somehow would be fair. I wonder where feminists are on this. I wonder where the people who supported women's sports are on this. I mean, we all going to be okay with hulking 6'4" guys, wrestling against girls, it just makes no sense whatsoever. And so I think the fact that you seem to be afraid to answer the question, or you basically do answer the question by saying it's okay without saying it's okay, really is a statement to a real problem we have, and a disconnect between what middle America and what most Americans actually believe.
Did y'all hear that? I want to know, for all those minorities, I'm not talking about white liberals, okay? I'm talking about minorities. I would love to do a survey, go door to door, speaking to almost every minority that voted for Creepy Sleepy, Sleazy Slimy Sloppy. I wonder if they did that knowing that he would sign legislation that would allow their girls to, get beat in sports by biological men. I wonder how many of those, if I would have knocked on the door and said, what's a bigger concern to you? Is it knowing that Trump is a white nationalist, xenophobe, and none of his policies reflect that? Yeah, your jobs are still here. Well, was here before this thing came about, but they were coming back. Let's see what else. Oh, unemployment for blacks wasn't the lowest it's ever been. And other minorities, every minority across the board. And yet, y'all say that's worth giving up for what? You're telling me you would trade all of those benefits if you really knew there were benefits, but you didn't focus on that because the liberal media and the Democrats made sure you didn't focus on those things. The benefits, we don't want you seeing that. We want you to envision the narrative that we built and downloaded into your skull. That's what we want. Because if you take a second to stop and look at the actual benefits of the last administration's policies, you would get upset when you hear things like what I'm hearing right here. Because, see, I have a high voter IQ. I saw all this coming down the pipeline. See, I'm not blindsided. I'm not shocked that he's tying these things. They've been echoing this the whole time. I saw the red flags. All of this stuff was crystal clear. So all of those who purposely ignored all of the writing on the wall, the signs, these are the real life consequences. So don't you come complaining when you walk up in that track meet and your daughter is about to race a 6'4", 6'5", muscle-bound man with simply a ponytail. And his convictions on the inside that even though I have testosterone, I'm swole up, yeah, I got a full-grown man beard, but on the inside I'm a little girl that just want to express that. And don't get mad at me or judge me, bigot, for beating your daughter in the 100-meter dash by about 30 yards, okay? But this is what people voted for that didn't know they were voting for. That's the problem. Very few people voted for Joe Biden knowing his policies. And those people were all probably Democrat politicians. Those were the only ones because they know if they would have let America know about these policies instead of telling them everything's racism, sexism, xenophobia, even some moderates or even some liberals would say, oh, whoa, easy, Tiger. So only people who knew these were the tricks y'all was going to pull when Joe got in, are probably the Democrat politicians. They said, long as we keep the low voter IQ people focused on unnecessary stuff that don't really impact their life and believe in all these narratives, with also the assistance of the corrupt liberal media, we can slide this stuff right up under their nose in the middle of the night, and they won't realize it until they wake up and say, wow, me having a low voter IQ has real life consequences. And there you have it. God bless y'all. See y'all next time in Kevin's Corner. Take care.
I rock the planet, beating my chest like a silverback back, silverback back. I hold it down, tilt my crown on them. I'm a silverback back, silverback silence. There's some kings in the building.
Throw your fists up and show some respect. There's gorillas in here, gorilla in here. It's gorillas in here, gorilla in here.
This video is brought to you by Extreme Tees. Click on the link below. Make sure you put Kevin in the promo code and you'll get a 20% discount.